A fisheries observer is a real critical component to the law enforcement toolbox at sea to stop illegal fishing. Essentially, a fisheries observer is an independent person who is sailing on board a fishing vessel with the responsibility of monitoring the fishing activity of that vessel and also collecting data on what that vessel is catching, where they're catching fish, if they're having any impact on endangered species, if they're unreporting their catch or misreporting their catch. Ultimately, they are an independent observer, and they have a very, very important function to ensure that these vessels are being compliant with the laws and regulations of the country in whose waters they're fishing. On a return to port, we're able to work together with our government partners to debrief and provide information and intelligence to our government partners so they can better manage their fisheries. In some cases, we're actually unable to uncover fisheries crime, and it's thanks to our work with our government partners that our law enforcement agent counterparts can actually arrest these vessels and bring them to justice. And that has a really important function to play because ultimately, these fines that are levied on these fishing vessels is critical revenue for these developing coastal and island states, but also arrests of vessels serve as a deterrent. And in the past 4 years of working with 7 African coastal and island states, we've assisted those countries to arrest 52 vessels for illegal fishing and other fisheries crime. Big concerns that the fisheries observers have is that if they report illegal activity on board the vessel that they're on, there's always the risk that weeks down the line, months down the line, they may end up back on that same vessel. And the captain and crew will know that they essentially snitched on them. And that causes them worry for their safety. And there are certainly reports from all over the world where fisheries observers have been assaulted, where they've felt that they've been threatened with assaults, and of course that they simply disappear as well. In an ideal situation, there would be naval patrols at sea all of the time to ensure that fisheries laws are being enforced. But in reality, a lot of countries, especially in the developing world, their resources are stretched to the extent that they either don't have the vessels, or they don't have the fuel, or they don't have the crew to actually have an all-around presence at sea. And that's why a lot of this illegal fishing activity is able to continue, because there are these law enforcement vacuums. And the same reason why fisheries observers are disappearing is the same reason why illegal fishing is still a problem, namely that there isn't enough law enforcement presence at sea. Due to COVID-19, we've seen a decrease in global fishing effort by about 10%. So the global fishing fleet is at 90% the fishing capacity that they were, say, 6 months ago, before the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 to be a pandemic. But at the same time, we suspect that there's an increase in IUU fishing activity simply because controls have been reduced. Naval vessels are going out less to check on ships, and fisheries observer programs around the world have essentially been suspended. And that means that for the first time, these vessels know that they aren't really being watched and that governments have other priorities than what these boats are doing in their waters.